call because we've already done the Pledge of Allegiance. I do want to note that the meeting is being streamed live. If anyone has public comments or questions that are watching the live stream, you can text or email information station, and the questions will be relayed to the board and answered at the end of the meeting. I think we're good. So may we have the roll call, please?
Rita Ackerman,
Present.
Jim Brady,
Present.
Peter Garlich,
Yes, I'm here.
Dave Brooks,
Present.
Kevin Ballard.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you.
Got the volume turned down.
Okay, we're going to make an adjustment to the
Ceremony?
Timeline agenda.
agenda, and right now we are going to recognize our new chief, do a swearing in, and then his wife is here to pin his new chief's badge on him. So, Chief, if you would front and center.
Remember, short sentences.
Raise your right hand. I, Jamie Mason,
I, Jerry Mason,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support the Constitution of the United States of America,
to support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
and the rules and laws of the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District,
and the rules and laws of the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability,
Oh, excuse me. Oh, and will comport myself
and will comport myself
in the office of
in the office of
Fire Chief,
Fire Chief,
a position to which I have been appointed
a position to which I've been appointed
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Come on up.
Can I stab him?
Yeah, you're the one
We
that's
have
got
an
to spend the
EMT?
night with him, so.
Appreciate it.
I'm prior military, it's nothing.
You better take the old one off first.
Somebody got a knife I can sharpen this one?
I've been over here grinding on it, so.
I just wanted to poke you a little bit.
Yeah.
Those holes are just suggestions, you don't have to use them.
They are.
Okay.
We're very happy to have you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, congratulations. We will move on to approval of the minutes of the April 15th meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And approval of the April 29th special meeting minutes. I believe that was just the three of us that were at that one, so.
I move to approve the minutes from April 29th.
Second it.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, minutes are done. Citizen participation. Do we have anyone among the citizenry that wants to make any kind of comment to get going, or? Hearing none? Okay. Staff presentations.
All right, so for the month of April, we had a total of 89 responses. 15 of those were fire responses, 57 were EMS, 3 were vehicle crashes, 3 were water surf rescues, which, if my memory serves me correct, one of those 3 was the 2 picks we did out of the Bay of Kayakers.
Yes.
At the last meeting.
Yeah, no, that's right, it wasn't the last one.
Last meeting.
That's right. So that was the 2-person rescue that we did with our boat, and the Coast Guard assisted. If we had not gotten them out of the water for roughly another minute, we would have had a Coast Guard keel over the top of our boat as well. They were on the way. And then we had 8 lift assists and 3 other public assists for a total of 89. So far to date, we are sitting at 441 emergencies for Central Coast alone.
Wow.
That's a lot.
We feel it.
That's a lot.
For training, we completed the instructor one. Those applications are going out to DPSST this week and part of next week as I get the signatures from the crews coming in and out. Total hours so far this year in training, 1,278.25 hours in dedicated training, drills, and on shift. I have pulled the Fire Officer 1 curriculum, and they'll be moving on to that later this month. And then they've already started into the Firefighter 2 interactive course through just the Resource 1. So within the next few months, all of our Firefighter 1s will be upgrading to Firefighter 2s, and then they'll be upgrading, the officers will be upgrading to Officer 1. And that completes our goals that we had set when I got here for training to get people up where they need to be for their rank. So our academy graduated in April, and we have an upcoming academy in September. We've already been told that with the Tidewater Station nearing completion, we have people who are interested in signing up and going through the academy as soon as that building's back up and running again. And we're partnering with our response partners. We know that Newport has 6 people that'll be in the academy so far. So it should be a pretty decent sized class by the time we get up and running in September.
Good deal.
We completed 93 hours of training for the month of April alone. So,
Maintenance, that's me.
Next.
So, as Chief Mason talked about, I've been not at Tidewater because we've had some serious issues with all of our rigs. Our Five Rivers engine is years because it is actually our second out, which is kind of a scary thought, seeing as how, like you mentioned, the IGA could go away, and we need to really look at things. I've been able to get, as of today, just literally a couple hours ago, 73, which is the one sitting out here, has been fixed. Basically, it's just age. I'm working on putting together a program to where all these rigs are going to get pumped and drained every month. The biggest problem with these is the water's just sitting in them. So like 74, it goes up and just sits there. It gets pumped, and then the water just sits inside that housing, and it's just rotting the inside. I found a couple discharges and an inlet on 73 that didn't have caps, so I'm going to order some caps. Make sure that things are caps so that the salt air is just not sitting in there beating on them. That's the biggest problem with 73. It's just it rotted out, and there isn't a plumbing store in this county that carries the size of parts that thing has. So we're looking at 3-inch fittings, 4-inch fittings, little pipe nipples that are only that long that have all been custom made when the engine was built. Now trying to order them, I'm having to go clear to the valley. It's 2 days out. Something that literally could take me an hour and a half to fix is taking me 3 and 4 days to fix because of waiting on parts and whatnot. So to go through the maintenance report, Station 74, I'm going to have a landscaping company go up. It looks horrible. It's way overgrown. I don't have time, honestly, to maintain it myself. So I'm going to have a landscaping company go out. We've already got a couple bids back. We're just kind of waiting for some more to go out, clear all that brush, get it under control.
That's Five Rivers?
That's Five Rivers.
Yeah.
Lincoln County has work crews.
Yeah, and that's another option I am exploring too. I used them with Tidewater, actually. Saved us a bunch of money. So, but we're preaching wildland preparation, and now the brush on this building is literally growing on the side.
Looks
So,
bad.
yeah, we need to clear all that out, a good 10 to 20 foot swath all the way around, get some new gravel down so it looks good out there. And then, yeah, when I was out there with the last person giving me an estimate, the building is absolutely growing mold. I didn't realize that metal grew mold, but it does. So it's going to be all pressure washed so that it'll actually look good. I'd like to eventually, in the coming months, maybe if budgets allow, maybe put a sign like we're doing at Tidewater in here out there so that people know it's a fire station. Right now, it's a highway sign, there's a fire truck, okay? Great.
The only problem I have with having a sign on a station that's that far out is it could make it a target for people who would wanna bust into it and steal equipment
Which
out
is,
of it.
I think, one of the reasons why we didn't do signage
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, it's got a wildland sign out there, so it somewhat says that it's a fire station, but, yeah, something maybe to think about because I'm beefing up security like I did around here. I'm working on beefing up security everywhere. That would be a tricky one, because there's no power internet, so.
But as long as everything's kind of secure,
Yeah.
should be fine in theory, right? Because we don't
Yeah.
have, like, we had a generator outside before. Do we still have that generator outside?
It's been mounted inside
That's what
along
I
with
thought, right?
a
And so we
big
should be better off there.
furnace.
The only thing outside is the propane tank, and we, for obvious reasons, can't store that inside.
Yeah.
But it's behind the building anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of tucked over off to the side, so you can't really
I
see
think
it.
people are a little bit more intimidated about stealing those than most people.
Yeah,
I would still like to see some type of signage up at Tidewater for a report for volunteers. Volunteers wanted,
Yeah.
needed.
Yeah, we already have the banner on the way.
yeah.
Even drive for this year.
That'll help a lot too, because once, locals up there see it, then we're more than likely to be able to pick up more volunteers.
Yep. We also want to do an open house up there so that everybody knows that it's back open and operational
Great.
again. And
Great.
we'll see what vehicles we're moving out there as well. It'll have a 2,500 gallon tender, a 1,000 gallon pumper, and a brusher inside the station at all times. No more vehicles outside.
I'm just tickled pink of what's happened up there at Tidewater, considering what we had just months ago, building caving in, and now it's actually a brand-new building.
Yep.
We're getting there.
Very
So,
pleased with that.
Engine 74 is being, obviously got brought down because of the 2 engines that were out, but it also honestly just needed to come down. We need to do hose testing with it. But we've set it up now so that it's a second out rig. And the volunteers and even a couple staff have actually requested that it stay down here and that we try to figure out something else. So that's a process. But they really like that old engine, and I'd like to keep it around for a long time, clean it up real good, paint it, and even after we get through vehicles and turn it into a parade rig, something that we can run around and have
Well,
it.
if it's up at Five Rivers, we don't use it anyway, so.
Right, well,
Well,
that's
it might as well
why,
be down here, so.
they wanna leave it down
Yeah.
here. We got one new volunteer really
It's got to
wants.
go back up to Five Rivers
Yeah.
as soon as we get our engines back, because we have to maintain the ISO.
No, I know, but I'm
We're
just saying.
we're allowed to pull it temporary for maintenance reasons, but we
Right.
can't just keep it here just because we want to keep it here. There's something's got to go back out there, and it may be the old Spartan that goes back out there.
Right, yeah, that's what I
That
meant.
makes more
Yeah.
sense to me.
Station 73, which is Tidewater, I think that's an updated thing on the agenda we'll get to here in a little bit. 73 is just literally got fixed a couple hours ago, I finished it. And tender 73, which is currently sitting here only because of hose testing, but it is now back out at Tidewater. We are actually storing that one in that building now, so there is water. Plus, we need it for painting. There's no running water out there, so we're using it to clean paintbrushes and whatnot. Here, again, we'll go over the McKinsey update here in a little while. 72, we took it had a wiring gremlin in there somewhere. The clearance lights decided to start flashing randomly. Well, it wasn't even randomly. Every 2 or 3 seconds, it would just beep, 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 beep.
It got to the point where people were pulling over thinking we were running to the
Yeah.
We were just driving down the road.
I started to look into it, because then at the same time, every time the pump control, we put it in the pump, we'd run it, and then shut it, take it out of pump, and then turn the engine off, it would pop a fuse. So then the next time it went to go to pump, it wouldn't do it. So it to me, was all kind of intertwined, and I spent a good 4 or 5 hours trying to find, but there's millions of miles of wire inside of a fire engine. So something got pinched, something got rubbed. So I sent it down there, I gave them a long laundry list and said, these are our priorities. It is our first out, it needs to come back soon. So at this point, they have fixed the clearance lights, they have fixed the pump control problem. And the good news part is those 2 things were only about $500 or $600. And they reprogrammed the computer, yes, Fleet. they didn't, when they put the new ECM in, they didn't quite get everything copied over from the old ECM. So things like high idle, the clutch fan, the guys were really complaining that it was really sluggish. I of course don't have a computer for that, and I guess the clutch fan was locked in, so it was basically trying to turn that fan at every RPM it was running, which is really, that's a lot of resistance. So they turned that so that it's actually working the way it's supposed to, fix the high idle. And they did all that for about $500 or $600.
Good.
The generator did go out again. They ordered all the parts. They're 2 or 3 weeks out and told them we're not waiting that long. They're going to mail them here. I can put them in. That'll save us $700 by us putting them in. The parts for that were about $300. So all told, I thought, honestly, sending it there, I was very scared to come to this meeting and say, by the way, I know we spent 50 grand on this thing, and I just spent another 10, but under $1,000 to get the little gremlins out of it. So the biggest thing is that we spent a lot of money on brand new parts, and a lot of those brand new parts affected some of the weaker downstream parts. So now I think we're getting out of that gremlin phase where the downstream stuff is not, we've replaced it now, so we should be good.
Those 2 cables came in for you too.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Good. Trying to get the brush rig set up. Brush 72, the cables have been melted for a couple of years. And those are the in-cab control cables, so that you can start the pump and run it from inside the cab as you're rolling it. So the monitor at the last time we sent it down to California to get for Conflag, in all fairness, one of the crews fell asleep on the joystick and burned up the motor on the monitor. So that motor's coming. The monitor will go back on the front so that you can actually roll and squirt water as you're driving on the road. So if we do send it back on Conflag, it'll be set up, or if we have honestly something here, it'll be set up properly so that it'll run right. So
Basically, we're getting to the point now where we're getting past the deferred maintenance that was just left because it was like, well, just pushed off to the side. And getting stuff put back together, and with Echo Mountain last year, the 5 days we were up at Echo Mountain, that brush rig was a champion on my task force. And having that turret would have made it just that much even better. So, if we have another event like that, I want that thing working at full capacity, not having a piece that's been pushed to the side because we can just not have it. So, does that make sense?
I'd like to say just how lucky we are for a small department to have a maintenance officer that's able to fix our own stuff. We save a tremendous amount of money that way.
I try to, my biggest goal and one of my biggest things is with every job I've ever had is I try to justify my own salary. So if I can save, in this case, the district, the amount of money that it would have spent plus some, I figure I'm doing okay. So I try to.
Well, we're very pleased
Not
to
to
have
say it's going to happen every time. Promises. Last but not least, PWA and Lincoln County Sheriff, I sent them mock-ups of their sign. So on the sign out there, it's got the address and the station number on it. They will have the exact same size, but with their badge, Lincoln County Sheriff and Pacific West Ambulance and their little seagull or whatever it is on there. And they should be here by June 1st. The 2 brush, big tree things or whatever are coming out, and that little planter's coming out, and then the red little thing's gonna come out, so that you can actually see it, because right now you can see that sign. So, but they're paying for those.
Yeah, good.
I think we're going to pay them, but they're paying us back, or I'm not really sure that's that world, so.
And we
there's-
sent them the invoices.
We
Yeah.
built them, we just paid for it. We
Oh.
don't-
Yeah, we sent them
Okay.
the invoices.
So other than that, and then the quarters, the PWA quarters, he was supposed to start, he's on a delay, he was trying to finish up a deck. He still assures me that we're gonna, PWA will be in the lower side here by June 1st, so hopefully.
That's not very long.
No, it's not.
No, but it's great that we're getting income from PWA as well as the Sheriff's Department.
And they are paying for the entirety of the
Yeah.
remodel, so.
Yeah, that's just absolutely outstanding. Takes the load off of everybody. And it's a great idea to have as a public safety building rather than just a fire department.
Yeah. I think in the long term, being able to go to the public and say, hey, we're not just, yes, the bond is going to be for the, under the Central Coast name, but it's actually, we're all working together in one big public entity so that you have a public safety building to come to, so. Other than that, until we get to Tidewater and whatnot, that's the conclusion of my spiel.
My turn.
Your turn.
So, of course, everybody knows that May is Wildfire Prevention Month. We launched a wildfire home prevention program. So you can go on the website and under burn information where you can apply for not only a burn permit, they can actually sign up to have an inspection done or a walkthrough of their property. Charlie, one of our volunteers who does the smoke detector program through Red Cross, has volunteered to kind of take the lead on that with my help. So he's, while he's at the booth at the Wednesday market doing the smoke detectors, he's also trying to encourage people to either get the inspection done, but we also have a checklist that homeowners can have that they can do their own kind of checklist of clearing out there around their property. In case there is a wildfire, that way maybe they can protect their home from it. So it's, and then they can also elect to have their smoke detectors done at the same time, so it's kind of a 2-for-1. The checklist is actually kind of neat because it doesn't just cover the outside, it covers the inside of their house too, so it's kind of an all-in-one thing. But I think it's, you know, we've been doing stuff on social media for the different wildfire things every few days, just posting something about it and we'll continue to do that for the rest of the month. But really educate people on what they can do around their home to help prevent just the fires coming through if we have one. Hopefully we don't have one, but we wanted to do what we could to maybe help lessen that for them. I know he has done one inspection already. So, and that was a sign up within the first 2 or 3 days of it getting launched.
So,
Excellent.
to piggyback on Wendy's comments about I hope we don't have one other than knocking on a lot of wood. We did have a emergency, a 911 dispatch for a column that was off the Tidewater area, or at least it appeared to be off the Tidewater area. I immediately, I actually went up Bayview because it was initially reported as on the other side of the bay. But after conferring with ODF, we set up what you could call a temporary command post just up at the 1 mile post of Highway 34, where I met up with Eric and Charlie from ODF. We pulled in the first hour, we pulled 6 Type 6s, a Type 3, 2 Type 1s, and a tender to our station here for vehicle staging in preparation for deploying to that fire if we did determine it was a fire. And I had Cody request Lifeline over the phone to do a flyover for aerial reconnaissance to verify the fire. Luckily, it was not a fire. It was a prescribed burn that was being done by ODF, but the reason why our ODF people did not claim it as their fire, did not know it was their fire, was that it was not actually in Lincoln County. So it was a different ODF office that was the ones that knew about it. So I called Charlie, said, I've got a header off in the distance and it's big. It was big enough to see it from past the county line. He said, I can't verify that fire, that we may have a fire. And then I said, well, there goes my weekend. And then started moving resources. So it's good to know that, you know, just calling for resources and ramping up really quick, we can get a pretty good stock of wildland equipment here right away. And that was just pulling Yachats ourselves, Seal Rock, U.S. Forest Service, ODF, and Lifeline. We didn't pull past South Region. Next would have been Newport, Toledo, Siletz, and then after that, Eagle Bay, North Lincoln. So,
That was great that
That's-
Lifewise was willing to do
yeah.
that. That was,
Yeah.
Lifeline will do that if you request it. They're not busy.
Do we ever like pull for Slop or anything like that? I mean, they're not that far.
No, we did pull them for the 10-mile fire last year, but that, of course, was down at the bottom of the Lane County line, between Lincoln County and Lane County, so it was closer to them. We would have pulled Alsea if they needed to.
Okay.
That would have been another one on the list.
That makes sense.
Just get Alsea because they're further upriver.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then you also have, you really have to watch it in Kelowna as well.
And that ended up being like 4 miles southwest of Alsea is where it was at.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Out
The
there.
header on that was big enough to see it from the 1-mile marker on Highway 34.
Yeah.
Really burning.
Well, it's definitely heartening to hear that, you know, that kind of response that quickly, seeing as how it looks like we're heading into a drought year.
I thought for sure I'd make attention on the community page because we had 6 Type 6s and a 10 and all these engines just sitting here at the station with
All of a
everybody walking
sudden.
around the wildland gear. I was just waiting to get hit with the.
Well, did you have any sirens going beforehand?
No.
Okay, I think people tend to respond to the sirens.
Yeah, no, not yet, not yet. If it was a fire, we would have a
Yeah,
lot of sirens.
yeah, I know.
But luckily it was not a fire. Hopefully we do not get a fire. But last year we fought quite a few fires and some of them were here. The Terrace fire was here and that was the night of Echo Mountain. And then the very next day we deployed to Echo Mountain, myself included. So, I'd really not like to not do that this year.
Yeah.
Okay. You got everyone covered?
Yep.
So, okay, volunteer report, Rick?
I'll pretty much echo what Chief has talked about in that fire that day. That was an afternoon. It was a day, a regular day. And they had tapped out on our 911, any available. And the staffing that was there, the ODF engine, there were 2 ODF engines. One was with us and one was at the airport. Other than that was primarily our volunteers that came together and got off work and showed up and grabbed rigs. And that's just the epitome of the training that we've been given. We know what we're grabbing and going. Engine 74, we didn't know what that engine was because we hadn't used it. We had training Monday night and the comment was, we're going to go out there and break it or make it. And the engine survived above and beyond. And us as volunteers, because when you train a volunteer to handle levers, we have a little bit more problem with us old timers to try to convince us what computers look like. But that thing did quite well. And I had the same range as Eric, so we'll have battles in the back court there to see where 74 is going to go. But I think it needs to be closer to us. Right now, volunteer-wise, we are about to lose our second chaplain. She's headed for Wisconsin. Her last day is 17 June. We're going to have a little get-together with our association meeting on Monday night. And she's done a great job.
Did she
Family
leave?
has all gone different directions. Huh?
Did she leave?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Rhonda left. She had another event that was at 7, and I held her as long as I could. So she's going to be leaving us, and that's good for her. She's been with her son for a while. She's been with the daughters. We gained a volunteer in Tidewater already. Really, it's a replant. She's come back to be with us, so we have another volunteer up in Tidewater. We have 2 that have reached out that are in between Cozy Cove and North. I don't know exactly where they're at.
That's both that goes to go.
They're at Cozy Cove. They're wanting to join as soon as the Tidewater Station comes in. We have a video that's being manufactured by one of our lieutenants in Euchre, trying to just recruitment, trying to get people in. I have attended 2 meetings with Lincoln County volunteer group, which is all of our departments that are in Lincoln County, trying to get strategizing. I say this with all seriousness. It's tough to get volunteers when we can't get people to take jobs and get paid, but we're working on it. And there are people that want to do this. The sad part that happens is we've converted ourselves to, and we need to. If you're going to volunteer, you have 2 choices. You can be a support volunteer, and you're going to be under Wendy's realm, and she's got plenty of work for you. But if you're going to be somebody who's going to show up on scene, you have to go through the training that we know when you get on scene what you're gonna do. And that fire, or that near fire that we had proved that the team worked well together, without too much problems. And, so we are recruiting, not having much luck, but looking for them. The pay's good, you get one more zero if you join our team. We're gonna pay you satisfaction.
Wait till Tidewater opens up, I think you're gonna see more people.
I'm hoping, I mean,
We all wanna see it going and running.
I really want to see about 3 volunteers. We might post 20 to 23. That's where I'd like to see them, you know.
I'd really like to see a crew out there that when we get a call out that way, they go and they grab an engine or they grab the brush truck and then they cancel this one down here.
Yeah.
Because they
Really, that's what's happening with
So
Tidewater.
we're just covered.
With Bob Carskadden, he'll take off on something, and at least him and whoever the first lead out, they'll have a conversation of what's going on. There was a call last night at about milepost 9 on Five Rivers Road, and we got tapped to, and they called the Yahas volunteer from the other way to get over there. Because again, that's 30 minutes.
Yes.
It's a long time, so
Yes.
we need to get more people up in those areas. I'm very pleased with what our volunteers are doing, but I'm gonna tell you, if I put everybody on paper, and I don't get the paper, Wendy does, I think we have 12 names that I can say will show. And out of those 12 names, we have 7 that are what we call combat ready, that we can bring them on the scene. And not me, because I'm dual, I'm chaplain and lieutenant. We have 2 other chaplains, and their role is not to fight fires. Their role is, they're good health people. They're going to grab water, they're going to grab whatever they can, but they're not there to, they're there for another reason. So, if you know anybody that wishes to be in a great job, this is the job to be. And I'm glad I get to do it. Any questions for the volunteer?
Have we tried to do any outreach to the Forest Service folks?
We had one person that did come in, and he went through the academy, and that was 2 of our members that we had through the academy. They were part of our team. They moved to 3.
Got it.
Well, and he actually ended
And now
up getting
he's in Gold
transferred to Gold Beach, yeah.
And in years past, we've had 4 overall that were Forest Service. The sad part, as soon as May comes, we lose them. And,
For 6
you know,
months.
they're here for the winter months. But
Right.
we've had 4 over the 7 years I've been.
They used to be a real backbone of the department in the past, but of course they had 120 people working there then too.
Right. Well, like I said, we did lose the 2, and they went down to Toledo. Now Eli, he's in Gold Beach. We really, out of the academy, we had 5 possibilities, and technically we have 2. One does stipend shifts, and the other comes more periodic. We just don't have a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, it's a whole lot more than we had 2 years ago, so you guys are doing a great job. I mean, you're doing a great job.
Well, if you know anybody, you know, we're gonna give them the god awful truth that they want to be part of us. They have to plan on training.
Yeah.
But the training's not bad. I know more about things than I did 7 years ago when I walked in. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Rick.
And then we also would have individuals that could like drive a rig or something like that, especially one of the brush rigs.
You have to be certified by the group on what they're doing. Again, driving brush rigs is easy, but brush rigs have water in them, and that's another whole test that you have to go through. But it's not hard to teach them.
Yeah,
They just have to be willing to want to be here.
right.
And again, when the tones happen, our call isn't to go to the fire. Our call is to come to the station. And that's pretty much what she called us for that balloon that we could see. And they all showed up, and we all grabbed our gear, and we were all standing there. And we all looked good. Nobody knew about it.
Took pictures at least? I mean,
I like the camera job, that's Wendy's job.
And I was up doing the binoculars, trying to help find where the fire was, so,
We need a camera person.
that day.
Well, we definitely need.
Normally, yes, I would have been here taking pictures.
Yeah, we definitely need as many volunteers as we can get with our paid staff can only go so far. Without the backup from volunteers, we'd be just screwed. So it's vitally important that we get more volunteers and help them through the process.
Thanks, Rick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, finance.
Brett?
You're up, Brett.
We had cash in the bank, in the accounts of $840,064 at the end of April. So that's a good healthy number.
Yep.
For us. Of that number, 415,000 is unreserved. So, number you saw earlier in the budget should just be about it. Yep, should be about right on. Personnel costs, through the end of April, $452,286. And we budgeted $626,094. So we're at 72.2% of the budget. So we'll come in.
Only 2 months to go, yeah.
Taxes collected, $831,430 in the general taxes. And we had budgeted $765,332. So that's a pretty healthy collection.
Yeah.
It's a positive 8.6%.
That includes a 3%?
Yes, and it also resets when homes are purchased.
Yeah, you're right, I forgot about that.
Which is probably where we'll
Right,
see
where
a
you're
lot of
getting that biggest,
appreciation
yeah.
here in the near term.
Yeah, yeah, the 3% increase, we're also, when we forecast at 4%, not 100%. And then you also have new growth. So those three combined, that's why you see it inflate.
Excellent.
Legal services, just put it out there, as was discussed earlier, through the end of April, $18,350. Remember that. Vehicle repairs with the rebuild, $69,624. Quite a lot. Materials and services, the actual that we spent through the end of April, $274,517, and we budgeted $565,808. So that's 48.5% of the budget.
That's great.
And Tiger water renovation, $90,173 accrued,
Does that include the land, or that just for the building?
not including water.
Okay.
So we're still within our 175.
Yeah, so we're $84,827.
Okay.
Everything's in there, except legal.
Vehicle repair.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
That
yeah.
includes a rebuild.
Actually, no. The $50,000 overhaul came after. We decided to do that after. So technically, I think what we originally budgeted, we're still under the original amount of the overhaul. So technically.
Okay.
Thanks for helping with that.
If anything else breaks.
Anybody else have any questions for Brett?
I make a motion that we approve the financial report.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Do I have a motion to pay the bills?
I make a motion that we pay the bills.
Okay.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving through that, do we have any correspondence?
A couple things in there.
Where are they?
I have one. A couple here in Walport, Tom and Jerry, Tom Payne and Jerry Kern, said, in memory of Mark Campbell and thank you for all you do for your community, the fire department, they each donated $100 each to the fire department,
That's great.
Nice.
which I deposited in the bank.
So, when we get donations like that from the community, I think it would be nice to forward that money to the association, to the volunteers. So if we can do a motion to have that money forward to the volunteer accounts.
make that motion.
Yeah, that's
so I'm
fine.
just suggesting.
Well, the checks were made out to the fire department, so that's why
Yeah.
it's positive, but that's fine,
So you're seconding it then?
I'm seconding it.
No, just making, no, I can't make a motion.
Oh.
No, she did.
Yeah,
She
I
made
did.
one.
All right.
I
Yeah, I
made the
second- I-
motion.
I can't make a motion.
Okay,
I
any
second.
further discussion about that? Hearing none, okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Motion's approved. Okay, so, where do you want to start with the correspondence, chief?
The only thing with correspondence from you.
Well, you had the, one small grant that you wanted to put in there,
Oh,
but I can
yeah.
give the letters if you
That I
want.
was just looking.
So in terms of grants, we were awarded our ODF grant, and that's a matching grant for fire shelters, nozzles. We're getting the filter masks so that we don't have to choke on smoke like we did last year. I can tell you personally, that was not fun. So these are just improvements to our PPE and our equipment. We still have the grant for Tidewater, which is for the security system that's coming out of Tidewater, so it's the cameras, the monitoring system, and all the sensors for the windows and doors. We got that grant, it's just waiting until Tidewater gets to the point where we can install that. And then we have a grant from the Oregon State Fire Marshal's office that we're hopefully gonna get the notification next week of whether we got it or not. That's a $40,000 grant that does not have matching, that's a full grant. And that's to buy new radios, new Wildland shirt, pants, helmets, gloves, and goggles, and a mobile repeater that's gonna go on our Brush 72 to fix radio problems when we're way out in the middle of nowhere. And we're working on portable. The portables will bounce to the repeater on the vehicle, and the repeater on the vehicle will bounce it to the towers so that we can still talk. We put one on the engine, and we put one on the former chief vehicle, and we're putting one on the brush rig that covers us kind of in a wide spectrum. That's all included inside that grant. I dedicated 12 in matching for more pagers and, new pagers, because our pagers are all broken and outdated, and then additional radios to make sure that every vehicle has radios installed on it and ready for use.
Portable.
Portable radios.
Yep.
Right now, most vehicles don't have any radios at all, and if people don't grab them before they leave the station, they have no communications unless they go back to the vehicle. And sometimes we're not. So,
Chief, will there be a repeater based up at Tidewater?
we're trying to figure out if we can put a repeater in the office that's tied into the base radio we're gonna put in there. We're trying to figure it out. We know we can do it in vehicles, we're just not sure if we can do it in buildings just yet. But that is part of the plan, is to try to amplify the communications out of the Tidewater station. What we really need to do is we need to amplify people working on portables when they're in the canyon portion of the Tidewater area, Five River area. So these vehicle repeaters will help with that too.
Yeah.
So we just used one a week ago. We had a car accident down south of Yawhawks, and we were so far, even past Perpetua, we couldn't hit the repeater up here. So we turned the repeater on in the engine and bounced it off the engine, and then I was talking to dispatch like they were right there with me.
Yeah, I was listening to
It's
it.
great.
I'm working with Complete Wireless. It's on his radar. He's building a system.
Good.
It's not gonna be the cheapest thing on the planet, the way it works, because a lot of the other biggest problem about putting a repeater out there, it's not so much them being able to talk on Fire 2, it's that the pagers don't work out there either, which comes across Fire 1. So how can you repeat that Fire 1 channel down into a canyon without causing interference on the repeater up here, so that you get this infinite loop thing going on? So that's what he's trying to figure out right now, is basically that little canyon right there. How can we get Fire 1 amplified down in that canyon valley thing, so that the pagers will work again?
One of the things I'm recommending to the county through the Fire Defense Board of Chiefs is we need to go to also, and this doesn't help with this specific situation, but it helps overall, is we need to go to a Fire 4 channel. We currently have Fire 1, 2, and 3. Fire 1 is our dispatching. You're not supposed to talk on that channel. You're only supposed to receive dispatch. Fire 2 is operations. Fire 3 is a North Lincoln owned channel for their operations. They allow us to operate on it when Fire 2 is too jammed up, but we're supposed to not use it unless we absolutely have to. if we were to put a Fire 4 channel into play, South County can have Fire 4, Mid County can have Fire 2, and North Lincoln can have Fire 3. We can not all have dedicated working channels where we're not competing for airtime. It's very frustrating when I'm responding to a structure fire and Newport's got a car accident and let's run in a burn complaint, and I can't talk on the radio until I've been on scene for 3 minutes, and I can't get directions out to an engine because too many other people are talking and I just can't get airtime. So it needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen every day, but just the other night, there was a fatal accident on 101. We had a medical going here, we had a second medical went out here, and then I believe there was a call out in either Toledo or Slats.
Toledo, I think it was Toledo.
And everybody's on the air. And you know, when you're dealing with a fatality wreck, there's a lot of communications going on there too. And they had 2 helicopters inbound on that.
So what does it take to implement the additional channel?
We had to work through the county. There may be a licensing fee through the FCC, but it's something that we need to build over time. Maybe look at grants. It's not something we're going to be able to go out as a county and just do that.
Right.
So I'm just trying to get the ball rolling with them.
Okay.
So
It's a several $100,000 project.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it's
is that
gonna,
right?
really,
to get it, because you're looking at repeaters and radios and new towers and antennas. I mean, it's, good. Mark said it was not a cheap thing. And so it'll be 3 districts, everyone that's gonna use it. We need to go for grants. It's gonna be a several-year process.
Wow.
Is that all microwaves as well?
Yeah, there's a lot of
There-
that.
There's some equipment, you know, the tower in Perpetua is not being used. There's a Seal Rock tower that we use for just a general ops channel here locally, but it's not repeated and it's not recorded by dispatch. So some of that current equipment can be put into that, but we are gonna have to add new equipment to make it fully functional. So it's just, you know, trying to improve our communications overall, being on the coast is challenging.
There's not a repeater up on the hill above
Not on
the
Seal
7
Rock
mile
3.
marker?
Not on Seal Rock 3, no. Nope. And it's only powered by battery power. So if the batteries go dead, then it goes dead.
The one upriver?
The one that we're using for Seal Rock 3. It's not a critical channel, so that sounds way worse. Mostly we use it when we want to say something that we don't want people to hear over the radio. So like when you hear, you know, hey Chief 700, can you go to channel 3? I said, oh, what do you want?
You don't need to do the letter.
Yeah, I do the letters.
So this first one from Richard, he is actually a young adult. He lives in a kind of an assisted living facility. They actually called to ask if it was okay if he sent a letter. They helped him write. He's big into safety. He's on their safety committee there and stuff. So he wrote this first letter. I'll just read it real quickly. Dear Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue, my name is Richard. I live in Springfield, Oregon, and I'm writing to you to say thank you for keeping our community safe. Safety is very important to me. I'm on the safety committee within the community that I live. I have a job as a courier. I enjoy painting, and my favorite superhero is Batman. I like it when I get patches and stickers from law enforcement and fire departments. I write letters to you so I can show them to my friends and family. So the letter actually came with Batman stickers all over the envelope. I actually wrote back thanking him for the letter. We sent him a patch, we sent him some stickers, and Charlie had a couple little like bracelets and stuff from just doing community outreach stuff that we threw away as well too. Stuff, so you should have actually already gotten that.
Great.
The other one was from a gentleman who used to be in the Air Force and actually sent us a patch from the Air Force that we'll add to our collection when we get it hung up. He's kind of doing the same thing. He collects patches and creates a mural kind of thing, so kind of what we're going to be doing too. And so we did send back a patch to him as well on that one. This third one came to Eric actually through our contact form on our website. I'm not sure what day that was. Do you remember?
No.
Looks like the
Basically, it
night.
was a fall that we responded to, so she was just saying, you know, wanting to thank us. She says, I want to thank you so much, the ones who came to my rescue yesterday after I had fallen and couldn't get up, they were so kind and gentle with big ol' me getting me up and making sure I was okay. We're here in this town, we here in this town are so blessed to have you and who are willing to put your lives on the line for us residents. I do pray every time I hear sirens going by, not only for the ones you're going to help, but for all of you who answer the call. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart. Today we actually got to finally get most of the group together that responded to a cardiac patient back in January. She actually came to the station today with her dog and got to give Shy and Derek both a hug. They were the first on scene. She also got to meet Eric and Chief Mason. Cody Johnson was not here, but these three actually were over talking with Centillia at the time when the call came across. They asked for extra people, and they actually walked over. So she wanted to come in and thank everybody and kind of put together the pieces of that day because she doesn't remember a lot. So it was really nice to actually get to see her. She ended up having surgery, and so she just wanted to kind of basically thank everybody that showed up. So that was nice to actually get to finally get them together. So we've been working on that for a couple months.
Multiple code sections.
Yeah. Anyways,
She coded twice. One's out front of her house and one's at the hospital.
And she is doing amazingly well, by the way.
she is.
Yeah, she is.
She forgot her phone. She has pictures that she wanted to show, but she wrote everybody who responded's names on her back before she went into surgery.
Yeah.
That's it for correspondence.
Okay, thank you. Misplaced mine. Okay, old business, Tidewater update.
So, it's, all the tar paper on the one side and on the roof is done. It's essentially dried in. The windows have been put in, the doors the new roll-up doors are on. And they're low overhang doors, so those doors go clear to the ceiling. I mean, they literally make a hard turn right at the ceiling and go basically right across the ceiling. The openers that'll go on those doors actually mount to the side, so there won't be anything obstructions above it. So they mount right to the side of the openers.
Eric, are those doors, are they electric or manual?
Right now they're manual, but as soon as all the electricity's done, I have the openers. Those doors came as all one big kit.
Okay.
So I have the openers and everything, and the openers actually mount to the side of the door. So the roofing is up there. It's ready to be put on. With current issues, I haven't been able to get up there. Everyone will be happy to know I got rid of the big lift, so that money's gone. I did get a smaller lift, so that to get me up and down and around, and it's easier for one person when I'm out there. Like in the center post, I took it all apart, all the old stuff finally off of it, all the siding and whatnot. And when you have 4x12s that somebody felt the need to drive, not 16 penny nails, spikes. They were this long, through the side, 8 times. Into each one, and then above those doors, those old doors, there's actually 2. So you had 16 of them spikes into this 6x6 post, and I literally was taking a sledgehammer, standing there, just going with all I could to get it off there. Ended up just busting the wood all up and then grinding them off. There's still spikes in there.
Wow.
So, but I got that all cleaned up. But that's what, it's great. You can work from a ladder, but I couldn't have gotten the swing power that I had from a ladder on
It
that.
wouldn't be safe.
Yeah.
And it,
no.
no, it would have been safe. So, but that's why the lift's up there. The roof, I'm gonna just play with an idea, just so that we can maybe speed the process. I'm gonna call a couple. I know we put it out to bid. Nobody responded. Nobody has time. I already called a couple people to help me with siting, that kind of thing, and they've all turned me down. Angel Job Corps still under federal mandate as far as COVID's concerned. They can't help until at least August with concrete, and that is even marginal. So I'm gonna make some phone calls, I'm gonna play with some numbers and see if we can speed this process up and get it done, get a couple people out there to help me get the roof done, get the siding on, so that we can get it.
You know, one thing that bothers me about this is that you're up there a lot of the time working by yourself.
I actually enjoy it.
I know you do, but it's just bothersome to know that you're up there by yourself with.
So when I'm up there, I have my radio with me
Yeah.
and 2 cell phones.
Okay.
So unless I'm unconscious, I do have abilities to make.
Bob
get
usually
people
stops
up
by
there.
a couple times a
Yeah,
day.
and Bob's actually been a huge help up there.
He's tired of painting black though.
So all of the batten boards and all the fascia boards, I ordered all that, that's all up there. I ordered all the paint, and I put Bob to work painting. There's 1,200 10-foot boards, batten boards, for that building. So he is really tired of black. But it'll look really sharp when it's done. And that's all the window trims, the door trims, all the, fascia boards,
Right.
all the boards that go up and down on it. So, yeah, he's really tired of black. So, but all of it's almost painted now, so he's moving right along with that.
He may not offer to help you paint ever again, but.
Yeah. But, so that would be it for my Tidewater update. I'm hoping to get up there next week and at some point and start working on a few more things. There's only a few more framing things that need to be pickup framing, then we can get an electrician in there, because like I said, it's technically dried in. So, and they can start doing their roughing wiring, getting the lighting in, where those are gonna go, the fans, that kind of stuff that's gonna be going in there, so.
Okay. Excellent.
Okay. Mackenzie?
We met with Mackenzie last Friday. It was our program review meeting. I met with Jeff Humphreys, myself, Eric, Rick Valentine from the Sheriff's Office, Jeff Mathias from PacWest Ambulance. We submitted a template drawing for what we think the building should be adapted to, but their engineers and their architects are obviously going to have to go through it. Those drawings are on the center of the table. If anybody wants to look at them later, shows first floor, second floor, what it will be. These drawings incorporate the entire building. I know that we had talked before about trying to move the vehicle bays back and off of the training room here. It's just not possible with the property lines. So they'll be redoing the vehicle bays as they are and then lengthening them, and then the final 4 bays will be pull-through, but the first bay will be non-pull-through bay, but it's long enough to stack 2 ambulances. So if in the future, Jeff said that if the ASA was to grow for whatever reason, and he wouldn't put another ambulance somewhere else around here, he would just put 2 ambulances, but make this the center hub, and 2 ambulances would respond out of here instead to cover the ASAs in this area, in this region. So that's good. I like that.
So we couldn't take out the road?
That's with taking the road out.
That is with taking the road out,
With
okay.
taking the road out.
It's still an odd-shaped lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yep. They will have 2 architects here on June 2nd to start evaluating the structure. They're going to need to bring their creativity when it comes to engineering, because the entire front of that vehicle bay is going to have to be re-engineered for the seismic. The good thing is that comes out of the seismic plan. But that's going to have to be re-engineered, rebuilt, because the minimum between doors on the seismic have to be 36 inches or more for the steel columns. And so right now, they are not even 16, I don't think.
No.
Yeah.
Not to mention the doors are only 12-foot doors, and the new standard for the fire trucks that are coming out today, they want 14-foot doors. So there's that too. People have to understand that, this is incorporating National Fire Protection Administration guidelines. This is incorporating the cancer prevention protocols that are coming out now for firefighters. This is incorporating the OSHA requirements that we need to have, the ADA requirements we have to follow. And then it's also incorporating life safety initiatives. There are no fire alarms, there are no sprinklers, we just installed smoke detectors upstairs because we didn't even have smoke detectors, and that's very sad, because we're the fire district, we kind of, so, you know, it's, you can't put people's lives in the building and not protect it. So, protect them and protect it. Especially when they're essential people like responders that are protecting the entire community, so. So those are up there on the table, if anybody wants to look at those, and we'll see what surprises the architects uncover when they're here on June 2nd. Yeah, I think that's it for that.
These drawings are, they're not to scale obviously, but they're drawn to scale out of, I have, from when I used to build houses, I have a CAD program. So I built it basically in my CAD program, without measuring everything, and from doing houses and designing the houses in my history, kind of tried to make everything fit in the current thing. One of the things that McKinsey was talking about was that rebuilding the vehicle bay, well, one of the things I mentioned is prefab concrete walls, things like that, so that it still gives you that look, but it's easier and cheaper to just,
Right.
so.
Yeah, with the proposal that we agreed with McKinsey, so this is a template. This kind of just gives them an idea of what we think we'd like to see and what we need for a building, along with the questionnaires they had us fill out. In the proposal, they're required to give us 3 blueprint options to choose from based off of their engineers and their architects' needs and things for the building. So these drawings are not what it's going to end up as. These are just, here's a kickstart to get you going. So.
Okay. New business, SDAO training.
Oh, we got policy.
Yep.
Oh, policy, I'm sorry.
So last month, you were given policy 2.1 through 4.6 to review for this month. I didn't get anybody with any changes, so I don't know if anybody had any on that one. I did put the signature page in yours for this particular portion. I think I put it in the front of your whole binder so it wouldn't get lost.
Oh, is that what that, okay.
Yeah,
The only thing that, and I should have said something to you before, but the
I
only.
have it up, so if we need to make any like
Page
changes.
37 on physical examinations. And I did talk to SDAO about this too, but I think we need to be more specific about future physical examinations, you know, not just if the department wishes. I think it should be more specific.
That's part of that program development I talked about during the budget.
Yeah.
Is we have to develop that program to what level of an MPA we're going to try to meet, based off what things are available here locally through occupational medicine, as well as what things that it's going to be able to provide to meet those functions. An MPA 1500 is a massively convoluted guideline that even the U.S. Air Force Fire Department struggle to really try to conform to. So we have to go in there and we have to figure out at what level are we going to do these exams, what are our expectations to get out of it. Obviously, based off of statistics right now, we need to be monitoring our personnel's cardiac health. That is the biggest thing killing firefighters is cardiac events.
But I think we should have something in there, at least a testing every other year maybe, or.
Well, that's where that program is.
Right.
Up at North Lincoln, the program up there, they would get tested, and then occupational medicine would make recommendations on how often they get tested after that. So we have to build that program, and then we'll go in and we'll readdress the policy once we have the program up and running.
Okay,
I think this is a template to get us started.
okay.
Yeah, so what I'm doing on the signature pages too is it's got a section for the initial approval of it, and then it's got a section for any future revising. So as we do implement new programs and new things that we need to add in there, there's room to do that. And then simply, so we don't have to go through the entire thing all over again, we can go through just that section and revise, and approve just that section. Otherwise, you guys are, going to do this every year.
I just want to make it clear that I think it's important, so.
Yeah.
I was a little confused under the under the policy having to do with the, what is it, actually it's 3.3, which is the secretary treasurer of the board.
Yeah, I
we
actually was hoping
have-
you'd look at that one.
We
and-
actually have a secretary and a treasurer,
Right.
We did,
not the combined position.
oh,
But one of the, and I mean, you know, we can either put them together or keep them separate, that doesn't really matter. One of them was bank statements are to be given to the treasurer unopened. The treasurer is to review the statement and the canceled checks. I think that's a little awkward. You know,
we didn't talk about that last time because we do have an account.
yeah, that's just it. I don't think that needs to be one of the duties of the treasurer. I mean, that's why we have an accountant. We review the checks, we can review any of the financial records we want to at any time we want to. But to make it a requirement that bank statements are given to the treasurer unopened, especially when the board meets once a month, and
But
Right.
doesn't that give?
I would much rather have my accountant
Right.
reviewing to make
Yeah.
sure that
But
everything's
is that a
copacetic.
requirement?
Jamie,
Go ahead.
sorry, Jamie reviews those
Yeah,
statements before they come to me.
yeah, I
You
just
sign
don't think
it
we
off,
need,
but we've got that going.
But wouldn't that
And
give?
the check copies are with the state.
But wouldn't that give? I mean, isn't that more about giving you the authority to say, hey, I want to start doing this if you find that there might be improprietary activities happening? You know what I'm saying? Like, so then you have that power to do it, whereas if it's not the policy, they might say, well, you don't even have that power to require that. You see what I'm
no,
saying?
I think we all as board members have that
Yeah.
ability.
Yeah.
Well, Brett knows that I ask him questions and I have, you know, I review the QuickBooks
I'm
and
just,
all of the bank statements and
Yeah.
stuff, so I'm very on top of all of that.
So do you want us to just remove that?
I'm
part?
thinking that we can just, that we should actually remove that, because, you know, if it is, especially if it's stated in those terms, bank statements are to be given to the treasurer unopened.
Yeah, I don't think
That pretty
should-
much makes it a requirement,
wanna-
and
I
I
don't think that should be in
don't
there,
think
no.
that that's appropriate, I
No.
really don't.
Do you want to
We have-
remove it, or do you want to reword it?
I think, well, I think that bank statements can be, I'm not
Especially
even
with
sure
online
we-
banking, I don't even know if you need it on there. I mean,
Yeah.
he could go in any point, I could go in any point I wanted to check online banking. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm on the account, so
Yeah.
I don't even
Yeah.
know if that's necessary to have on there.
Yeah.
Now that you say so.
Well, you know, like I said, as long as we have language in there somewhere that says that we can review it at any time we want to, I just, I think it just makes it extremely awkward
We
otherwise.
could change it so it says just that.
We could say bank statements are able to be reviewed at any time?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe requested unopened at any time.
Well, I don't even want to go to the unopened. I don't know that that's, I mean,
I don't know why that matters, I don't know.
why?
Must be unopened.
It could say
Unless
that-
they took out pages, but they're all numbered.
But
so
they're
that
all
still doesn't-
numbered,
yeah.
and, you know, the checks are issued sequentially.
Maybe that was an old
I
thing
don't
or something,
know.
because I'm sure you
It
picked that
may,
thing up from somewhere.
it may be a holdover
And I
from-
think this section came from the actual old policy that I copied over.
Yeah.
So right now.
Well, we haven't been following it then, so.
So right now, what it says is bank statements are to be given to the treasurer unopened. The treasurer is to review the statement and cancel checks as follow, and then it has A, B, C. Some of those are actually, I think, okay. So A is verify that the amounts coincide with the amounts approved at the board meeting. So we could revise it to say that bank statements are able to be reviewed at any time by board members
Or say
Or
are
treasurer.
available
or available.
to the treasurer if requested.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the
Because
treasurer
yeah, because
may-
this is all under the specific duties of the treasurer.
Right.
And then the treasurer may review the statements and the canceled checks as follows.
Okay.
Then you're not making it an absolute.
Right.
Well, before I sign checks, I look at the amounts, I look and see where they go.
Right, we all do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why the checks are given to us with the detail.
Right, and if I have a question, I ask.
Yeah.
Cool, I'm not a big policy person, so I don't know. I read through it, but I don't really have any.
Yeah, well, that one just kind of jumped out at me, so.
Did you also say you want to make the secretary and treasurer two different?
Well, or combine, I don't know, you know, I don't know that may be a,
I don't know.
We
that
could do
really-
a and/or in there. That
And/or.
would be, because if
Secretary
you ever,
and/or
if you ever
treasurer?
decide that the secretary and treasurer is like the same person type thing.
If
kinda
there is
covers
only
both.
3 people on the board, you would want it and/or, if for whatever reason,
right.
just to have a quorum, but
You could put and or, I guess.
Well, you can just go through, like A, scratch out the word treasurer. And B, scratch out the word secretary. And again on C, scratch out the secretary. Twice.
We could do that too.
Because the rest of it
The
from
rest
there
of
on out
it
is
is
all
pretty
treasurer.
much, yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty much treasurer,
Yeah.
but, yeah, I probably should have looked at it with the potential for revisions before bringing it up tonight, but.
That's why I pull it up too, so. Okay, so I got that one fixed, so we'll just take out, we can take out secretary on C.
Yeah, it's in there twice, so.
Yeah. Take out secretary, not treasurer. And you said on, take out treasurer on A
Yeah,
and secretary on B.
yep.
All right.
And actually, I'm thinking that I don't know that we need to delineate the specific duties of the treasurer. I think they're pretty much covered in the, you know, the B, the treasurer, excuse me, not secretary. The treasurer of the board shall assure that accurate accounting and financial records are maintained by the district. That seems broad enough. And shall annually review the district's financial audit with the district personnel prior to submitting the audit to the balance of the board. So, you know, I don't know that we need to go any further than that.
Pretty much
with
get rid
the
of-
duties.
get rid
I
of
think we
D.
can get rid of D.
Altogether?
Yeah,
I think we can too.
yeah, because we, like I
'Cause,
said,
yeah, 'cause that's
we
the-
all have the ability to
Right.
do those things. It shouldn't just be the purview of an individual board member,
Yeah.
so.
And you'll eliminate almost a page.
Yeah,
Less paper. I'm for that.
shorter is better.
All right.
And I think basically that was, you know, a lot of this is Oregon meetings law,
Yeah.
you know, so it's pretty standard language.
Yep.
Do we need to approve this?
I think so.
Yeah, I think we probably need to kind of move forward with,
I think we need to approve it, yeah.
yeah.
So I'll make a motion to approve the policy presented 2.1, or policy number 2. I guess I'll list them off.
2.1 through 4.6.
4, I think,
Through 4.6, I think it's just for.
Yeah, through 4.6. with the amendment.
4.6 with the amendments stated in the minutes.
Okay, do we have a second?
Yeah. I'll give a second to that.
Okay, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
That's 2 down.
A very big one to go.
Don't hate me on this.
I saw that
I'll
when I
ex-
was reading through the minutes. This
I'll
stuff's gonna go,
I'll
oh no, that's a lot of
It's
pages.
only 58 pages, what do you mean?
I'll explain why that one's so large, and actually, I want Brett to pay attention to that one more than anybody else, so, because it
Oh.
has a lot of payroll stuff in it
Oh, gotcha.
and
Yeah.
stuff, so, yeah, I want to make sure that everything got put in there correctly on that one.
Okay.
And I won't have to take any melatonin for a month.
I tried, when we started doing this, I tried to group them by subjects, and so this is actually the longest one that kind of everything, I kept trying to split it up, and it's like, no, that goes with that goes with that, so this one is the longest one to get through, the rest are short.
What
And
is
we're
a,
almost done.
what is a Form 10 fire report?
I believe a Form 10 fire report is the structure fire form that we have to fill out for the state. But don't quote me on that right now. Right now is not a good time to quote me on that.
Okay, well, I mean, it shows up in the fee schedule, so I was just, evidently it's a standard report that,
We have a lot of forms. We have forms for reporting, we have forms for injuries, we have forms for exposures, we have forms for, so you really have to go look it up.
So I guess my question then is, have you guys reviewed this fee schedule to see if it's really
Yeah.
accurate, and if we need to update it, either include, make all forms that are publicly available are a certain cost, or, if some forms are 75 pages long, or, do we, I'm just,
Yeah, if you're talking about public records requests,
Mhm.
releases, typically what I've seen other places is there's usually a fee to cover basically Wendy's time to do the processing of that.
Uh-huh.
And then included in that fee is a per page cost.
correct,
for
and I think that
covering
that's probably what we need to do with this fee
district's
schedule
costs.
too.
So, yeah. But so if they're talking about that, then yeah, we need to develop what we're gonna do for that, to recoup those costs.
Right,
The research fee just says $25 if it's over 15 minutes, but, if it's 4 hours,
yeah, that's,
$25 isn't good enough.
yeah,
So-
yeah.
So it should be.
So,
maybe
yeah,
an
that
hourly
one's gonna
rate.
take a little bit of time, I think, to
Yeah. And that's,
actually
I think
go
that's
through.
what Brett needs to go through that as well.
Yeah,
But-
because I don't even know if 25 cents a page for copies is a reasonable cost.
It depends if we're
Don't mind me, guy.
doing something that's got pictures and have to do color because it's a
Right,
report,
yeah,
yeah, it all.
There's
it all
Girl
comes
Scout
out.
cookies out there.
Did you know
What?
that?
There's
I
four.
saw that. It might be for dessert. We'll see what happens.
Keith talking.
Sorry.
Oh, no, we're good.
yeah, that's okay.
The-
But this is for next time, right?
Yeah, and
Next
those,
time, So
those,
moving on.
yeah, those fees, just so you know, Rita, were just kind of the standard that I came across for,
Right.
that kind of, it was just a base fee rate, so I just put that in there. I mean, I love to research, but, I don't want to spend 4 hours on researching if it's only.
No, and that's why I think, especially with public records requests.
Of course, I mean, you could ask
There should
Eric,
be
he
a,
tells
there
me
should
what-
just be a form that you fill out that says, and it's up to staff to come up with that, If you want this information, it's gonna cost you this much. And that's provided before you actually go through and do all of the research and gather all the information, they get a cost estimate. But, yeah, so.
That's good, Rita.
We had that outfit out of Florida. I can't even remember what they were. They were some kind of,
Oh, we get, yeah, you get those,
they wanted all of our minutes for the last 5 years and copies of our policies and procedures and all that.
and because they were a public entity and providing the information for the public good, they didn't want to pay
They didn't want to
anything
pay
for,
anything. I mean, it
for
would have
the,
taken,
yeah.
not hours, weeks. I mean, so we just ignored them. and
Well,
didn't
you
play.
don't ignore them, you simply respond with, unfortunately, according to our policies, it's gonna cost you X. And then if they wanna pay that fee, then, you provide the information, because it is public records. But not to the extent of staff having to spend 4 hours to do something.
Yeah.
It's lucky because we're never busy, so.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so,
Leave the time on our hands.
so now SDAO training.
So SDAO training is actually for the incoming board. I talked with Christy, our attorney, and I reached out to SDAO. It's a joint training between us and the Steel Rock Board as well. So both fire chiefs, all the boards for both agencies. And it's just a onboarding training for, welcome to the board, and here's what you can and can't do, and here's how the rules and laws work with fire districts, specifically what you can be held to civilly, what you can be held to. It goes through the whole thing. I've been through it numerous times before. It's good information, and it just kind of gets everything set off to the right start. So we're going to do that. It'll probably be like a Saturday all-day event type thing. It'll probably be George, Dunkel, and Christy here going through everything, and everybody just getting information.
Good.
So that's what that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, IGA review.
I sat down with Chief Sakaris. This has been ongoing, ongoing since, well, I first asked for this back in December that we needed to do a review. The IGA renews every December. It automatically renews if either district has any conflicts with the IGA. We didn't have any conflicts, but it did need some cleanup after the first year of operations. So you guys were provided the copy that had all of the corrections in red, things that were strike through obviously were being removed. Things that were just in red were things that were being added. I did add an entire new appendix to the IGA for continuity of operations because the districts need to be working towards becoming together, not working towards moving further apart. And that, when we buy equipment, when we make changes to our staff, our ranks, our vehicles, unfortunately it affects everybody. And so those things can't be made in a bubble. They need to be made between both agencies, and that's what that appendix does, is it requires that level of communication and decision-making to be put through that task.
So when I read through that, I guess my only concern is that it would restrict us from making decisions as an independent board on vehicles or assets we bought without checking with them first.
So you don't make decisions in operations. I make decisions.
Yeah, but like buying a fire truck, let's just say we make a decision to buy a fire truck.
It wouldn't impact that. This is operational decisions
Yeah.
only. So if I make a decision to change a rank, then that would be affected by the appendix.
Mhm.
But if I go buy a fire truck and that's your responsibility, then that's you guys. That's your responsibility. That's above operations.
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha.
If there's a problem with the wording in there, Kevin, tell me, because
Yeah.
that's not the point.
I mean, I could have read it wrong. I don't know.
The point of it is that our operational decisions need to be aligned with each other, not be spreading us apart. If that
Right.
makes sense. So if there's something that needs to be changed, I need to know, because I've already got Tina's signature on the hard copy now. So, yeah.
The one without all the red.
Yes.
Are you satisfied with it?
Yeah, I did, I did most of it. And it was just really trying to clean it up, make it more user-friendly for both agencies. I think it's better operation now, so.
And I do appreciate that you took out the oversight committee.
Yes.
Yeah.
So remember that when I took this, I took what we did up at North Lincoln and Depot Bay, used that as a template. As I went through the cleanup on this, I realized there were a lot of times that the oversight committee was being brought into situations that wasn't for their purpose.
Right.
Those are things that needed to be decided by the fire chiefs, and then if they can't agree, needed to go to the oversight committee.
Right.
And it kind of excluded the fire chiefs out of it, so I went back and said, no, this needs to scrub the oversight, put the fire chiefs in there, and put it back to where basically the only time the oversight committee needs to be involved is when the two fire chiefs just cannot come to a decision.
Right.
That's the only reason that committee is formed. So before it was, the oversight committee needs to do a review every year. No, they don't. That's not.
As long as it's working.
So, yeah. Yeah.
So the part that I guess I was concerned about is the section 4 on the cost. It's like,
Yeah.
says, equipment purchased is to be, whatever, equipment that is owned, operated, and stored with us.
Yep.
So like, I don't know, am I reading that wrong, that it has to be stored at our station?
So this is referring to equipment, as in like a PPV fan, a Halligan bar.
Okay.
This is not referring to apparatus.
Not apparatus,
This is referring, so right now, if you pull our engine, over here and you open up the compartments, you're gonna see, okay, this piece of equipment has a Seal Rock sticker on it. But then the piece of equipment next to it has a Central Coast sticker on it. And so, because we've combined our stuff to be able to offer the best operation in that first response truck that's gonna arrive first. And so, what that means is that, and I'll reference what just happened, we spent thousands of dollars on TNT extrication tools. These are hydraulic tools that only connect to TNT tools. They do not connect to anything else. That's how they make them. A decision was made to go and buy a different brand of tools. Well, okay, well now you're incurring on me as a training chief because now I have to train everybody on 2 different types of tools instead of just buying the same type so we can all work together on it. And their functions are different, so now everybody has to remember on scene that, okay, this one functions completely different, that's why I can't get it to work.
Yeah.
So we need to go away from doing things like that, but we need to come together and say, hey, you guys have already invested $60,000 in TNT tools, I'm gonna go out and spend $20,000, I should probably buy TNT tools so they work together. And so we're all trained up on the same piece of equipment. That's what we're trying to get to. You know, now, I'm not bending over backwards and pulling the oversight committee on this because they're e-tools, so they wouldn't connect up anyway, because they run off batteries.
Gotcha.
So that one I'm kind of like, yeah, we'll manage. But if it comes to something bigger later, and one of them is hose. You know, we've had conversations of, do we go to 3-inch hose for supply, or do we maintain 4-inch hose for supply? Well, if you go to Newport and you connect to water supply off a hydrant, you're gonna connect off the LDH and port on that hydrant is gonna be 4-inch hose to connect to that without having to reduce it down. You reduce it down, you reduce flow. You reduce flow, you start to minimize what the incident commander can do for resources on scene. So if we say, okay, well, we're gonna run 4-inch, but then Seal Rock's gonna run all 3-inch. Well, depending on which truck shows up on scene, we've got a different flow.
Right.
And we don't want that.
Yep.
We want the trucks to show up and they got the same flow regardless, we don't have to worry about it. It's one less thing I have to worry about as an incident commander, is whether or not I'm gonna get 500 gallons per minute or 1,000 gallons per minute off that first flow. And so it's just us working on trying to make things better between the 2 agencies. Now, if the new board throws it up, it doesn't matter. So, you know, they've made comments in the last year that I've been attending their meetings. They've made multiple comments about they're not happy with the IGA and they think Central Coast is just trying to take them over. So that could be something that happens. I don't know. We'll see what happens when they actually take the seat.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, looks good to me. Do we need to approve that? Probably, I'm guessing.
Yep, it needs to be approved, and then I have a hard copy sitting on my desk for the board president to sign. The board president for Seal Rock has already signed their signature block, so that'll finalize that for this current year we're in. It is set to expire the end of December of this year unless non-conflict, where it would automatically renew annually.
Anybody got
So
any?
does that eliminate the possibility of Seal Rock terminating the IGA?
No. In the IGA, there is a 90-day clause that if any district feels like the IGA no longer supports or provides benefit to their district, with 90-day written recommendation or reference, whatever you want to refer to it as, they can opt out of the IGA after 90 days at any time. So if they don't want to do it anymore, essentially August 1st, they could do it, start the 90-day process, and by the end of October, we are out of an IGA.
So what's the difference between the IGA and what we've always done was working with Yas and Seal Rock in the past?
Mutual aid.
Mutual aid.
So it goes
Mutual
back
aid.
to mutual aid requests.
Yeah.
Mutual
Well,
aid
what's the difference?
So mutual aid has to be requested. Seal Rock goes en route, they find out that it's bigger than they can handle, they request mutual aid, it incurs a delay in response. We can't just respond because we want to be the nice guys next door. There are rules, we have to be dispatched to those calls. So unless they're gonna request us as they're rolling out the door, it's gonna incur a response delay. If they forget to request us because they get overwhelmed, that's gonna be an oversight that resources don't show up as soon as they should have. What the IGA did was, one, it took away mutual aid, it put it to auto aid. We respond on everything between South Beach and the end of our district. So everything from Seal Rock start to the end of ours is one dispatch. There is no interchangeability there, no change. The other thing it did was it provided us the ability to share resources. Our engine in the driver's seat is a Seal Rock engineer, in the officer seat is a Central Coast officer. They make decisions and they provide the initial response, and then volunteers supplement them on scene along with the staff of us that show up, whether it's from home or the office or wherever we're coming from. And so we would no longer do that. We would have to separate our crews. They would be on their vehicles, we would be on our vehicles. That puts us back where we were doing one person in a vehicle response by themselves any hour of the night. I'm not okay with that.
I'm just trying to make it clear, so.
So the IGA, we can blend because of the IGA and not have to worry about the rules of that's yours, this is mine, everything has to be separate. You know, where the only thing that we can't do is if it incurs a negative financial impact on the district that's not balanced between the two districts. So if we provide something to Seal Rock, and we're not getting that back from Seal Rock in some way, then that could be brought to the oversight committee and say, you know, hey, sharing resources mean sharing resources, but you're not sharing as much.
Right.
So that's something we could do.
So-
I will let you know, Seal Rock had one standing volunteer left. That volunteer quit Tuesday night after the elections were done.
Really?
And that volunteer is now here with us. So, they do not have any volunteers left, just their paid staff.
So literally speaking, we respond to every call that they have.
Yep. Every
And
call.
they respond to every call that we have.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
It's not exactly fair, but,
Well-
well, let's go back to staffing, so.
Are you putting a price on safety in that vehicle?
well, yeah.
So back to staffing, so you have it worked out between the two agencies
Yeah.
where you're not sending out two vehicles for the same call?
It depends on the call.
Well, I'm just saying, if we need two people, are we using one Seal Rock person and one of ours if we need it? Does that
So,
make sense?
Our first out engine, 72, goes out the door on every single call with one Seal Rock and one Central Coast on board.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, they live with us, they are responding with us, they are with us 24/7.
Okay.
If more people are needed, our volunteers respond. Their chief responds as an incident commander if needed. I respond as an incident commander if needed. Eric will respond as an operations chief if needed, or he'll go to the station and staff up a second engine. It's all situationally driven based off of what we're dealing with.
So it's an excellent, the IGA is excellent for both departments. So.
I think in terms of us being able to provide more to the community in a safer way, yes. And so yes, we have more calls. It runs 2 to 3. We run 3 calls for every 2 calls they run. So yeah, you could associate that we're doing more than they are. However, to be able to get that second body on the engine who is supporting my firefighter 24/7, I think that 2 to 3 is worth it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so,
The answer to this is really unification.
yeah.
That's,
At the end of the day, people are going to have to start to consider the fact that you have 3 pockets of areas that are limited tax base. Because they're 3 pockets of area, that have 3 duplicate sets of bills, and then 3 duplicate administrative systems. And so, at the end of the day, you're paying things 3 times over.
Right.
And
3 chiefs,
if you
3.
become one fire district at the end of the day, and I understand that that becomes a very sensitive conversation, and people say, well, that's my area, that's your area, you stay in your sandbox, I stay in mine, kind of thing. At the end of the day, the taxpayers have to understand is that if you spread out the coverage and you eliminate your duplication of cost, or in some cases triplication, in this case, if that's even a word, I don't know if that's a word.
Quadruplication.
If you eliminate those things, then you can work more efficiently, and you can actually put money away instead of constantly going after the taxpayers for more money.
Well,
Right.
yeah, we've known that for years, but the only way it's gonna happen is if Seal Rock loses their thunder.
That could be.
Well, I mean, because the taxpayers are gonna have to be looking for another source.
Yeah, I
Because
hope
it's not gonna happen just because, they like us or we like them. So.
Yeah, it could be.
But this IGA thing that we went into was the first step for that.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope it doesn't have to be something negative like that that really turns the key here. But what scares me is it's going to be something that gets our community hurt or my firefighters hurt that finally turns the key. And I'll tell you, and I'll reference, when this IGA finally went into full mode, was we had a car fire in front of a structure with a woman trapped in the garage and could not get past the car fire because the car fire was too big. And the first unit that arrived on scene was a wildland truck from Seal Rock with 1 person on board, and to do the initial attack to try to get that woman, that person to safety. And then our engine showed up with 3. I showed up as an incident commander right behind the engine, and then just shortly behind me was a Yamaha engine with 2. And for that first so many minutes, dealing with that life safety hazard and all that chaos, because the fire was melting the siding of the house, that 1 person took all of that stress and burden on them because they were alone.
Right.
And that person basically said, I'm not doing this anymore, I will not be here anymore like this, either fix this or I'm not coming back to work. And after that night, we put our crews together, and we said, we'll figure this out as we go, but they're staying together from now on.
Good.
They've been together ever since that call.
Yeah, sweet.
So,
Everybody I hear of around the community in Seal Rock and in Walport think it's a great idea. I don't think I've talked to a single person that says that they don't like the idea, to be honest with you, so.
I even think that we ought to maybe even consider having a liaison from the board, a couple of board members go to the meetings, or at least, because it's turf, that's what they're protecting. But if we could get the citizens behind it, and I'm sure, like you say, that they're all for it, I am too.
Well, you're working in the right direction. I think the direction that we're going is the best way for this to happen.
we definitely don't want to get into some kind of a hostile takeover type mentality.
No.
Well, no.
People start getting mad at us.
No,
Because, hey, do we all want to get on the same page someday or not?
yeah.
But it is true that our costs will come down dramatically.
I can show it.
Yeah.
I've ran studies, I pulled the district values from the assessor's office, I can show what it would cost to staff all 3 stations 24/7
Yeah.
and put 10 people on scene in the first response.
Yeah, when I say costs come down dramatically, I don't mean for the district. I mean for everybody throughout the 3 districts.
Yeah.
Our insurance costs,
Oh, yeah.
We've tried probably over the last 20 years, at least 3 or 4 times, made concerted efforts to get the other 2 boards
Right.
to come in and do this. And you're right, it just comes down to turf.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
you get board members who just think, well, it's a takeover, but when you form that new district, you can zone the board members so that not all the board members come from Walport or
Right.
Seal
Yeah.
Rock.
Oh, sure.
Unfortunately, you can't ever have more than 5 because that's what the state law says, but,
Yeah, it's if it were easy, it'd be done already.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
Well,
but the IGA is definitely.
We've tried.
Yeah, well, we flat said when we
Working
formed
well.
this district, the whole point of forming this district was to work so that we'd end up with one unified South County Fire District. And we've just never been able to get through the other
The
boards.
ESCI, which is a consulting firm for emergency response, came in back in 2012 when I first came into the county. And they did a consultation for all the fire districts.
A
and said-
huge study, yeah.
They said, we don't understand why this county is not one fire department. And it just comes down to the fact that everybody's got their own piece of the pie and nobody wants to let go of it, so.
Well, they
Well, there's
said-
also some logistics involved here too, with, a couple of bridges and that sort of thing in the way, but,
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple bridges in Newport, and Lincoln City, and,
yeah.
I mean, at some point, what it comes down to, honestly, is when the geography separates you to extreme extents. I don't see Lincoln, North Lincoln Fire and Rescue merging with Grand Ron, because there's about, a big, huge open area of unincorporated
Right.
land between the two.
Right.
I don't see us merging with Alcide Fire anytime soon. There's like
No.
40 miles, so.
Right.
Yeah, there's, but when you look at for us, Seal Rock, you go over the bridge, you're in one, you go over the bridge, depending on which way you're going,
Right.
you're in the other.
You could almost throw a rock from Steel Rock over top of ours to Johns.
Oh, yeah.
To be honest with you, I mean, at some point.
Our district lines, I swear, were drawn so bad. I mean, there's areas where we have to leave our district, cross through Yacht's district, and then go back into our district to get to the call.
Yeah.
That's,
It's like, really?
Yep.
We had a call the other night, and it was like, we're gonna play paper, rock, scissors to figure out whose this is.
And then we still have areas that aren't in any of the districts that don't
Right.
make sense either,
We
so.
found a house, which was that one you found?
There's a house over on Reed that literally there's 2 addresses covered by Yahata District. And then there's an unincorporated house. It's not in any district.
It doesn't pay
On
any
the same
taxes?
street, on the same street.
It's totally unincorporated.
Now,
where
here's-
Reed Circle, well,
here's
no,
the-
no, Reed.
Oh, Reed.
Off of Wakanda Beach. See,
Oh.
Reed didn't exist when
Right.
the districts were formed.
Yeah, but
So-
somehow those two houses got in, but the last house didn't.
So
Just sitting
it's
the
in
night.
Yahats, but here's another funny thing about that particular house. If somebody calls 911 from that house because they fell or have a medical problem, they're not calling, dispatch won't dispatch PWA to it. They're gonna dispatch Central Coast to it because of the ambulance. It got missed in the ASA. It's literally a Central Coast island.
Really?
Yeah,
We'll take the fee.
you can't make this stuff up.
No, well, our district is the way it is because when we formed the district, it was coming out of a city fire district, and so the district was the city limits of Walport. So then we merged in Tidewater, so we went upriver, and then we took in up to the 23-mile marker, which was another chunk, and now the city has expanded to the south, but because that's Yahatz's fire district, the fire department can't move with the city boundaries.
Right.
That's not true, it just takes a little bit of a process.
Well, once.
Yeah,
city has
it is a really
already-
convoluted process. I don't
talked to
even
them
want to
about
get
that,
into
yeah.
it right now,
Be-
but,
Because
you
of
know,
debt
it would
and
be
all that.
removing from one district and putting in the other
Yeah,
district.
over in the valley of Millersburg just did it, they just removed Jefferson Fire, well, not just, this happened months ago, but they removed Jefferson Fire Protection District off of Millersburg city limits and put Albany onto it
Yeah.
through the city council.
So how did the Ocean Hills,
Because it was actually because the fire department at the time was part of the city. So as part of that annexation process, it was removed from Seal Rock Water, or from Southwest Lincoln Water District and the Yahats Fire District.
okay,
And,
that
and,
makes sense on the fire
and
lines
service,
where I live.
Yeah.
and service was provided by the city's service at
So
that time.
because if I literally go to my back fence, I'm in Central Coast.
Mhm.
But if I'm in my house, I'm in Yahats.
Yep.
Right,
Because it's two roads, and it literally goes up the very first part of Rain, and then it cuts off, and you've got Terra Lane, South Maid, Seabrook, is all Yahats. And then you got Ocean Hills, which is
Yeah.
Central Coast. I mean,
Yep.
we're like in this little tiny square, if you will.
Mhm.
I
But if
just-
I go stand at my back fence, I'm in Central Coast.
I just said somebody give a second grader a red crayon to do.
I say if we have an emergency, we just go to the church and give the church address.
And you've got the same thing to the north, when you cross the bridge, you're in Seal Rock on the west side, but on the east
Yeah.
side, up on
Alsea
Alsea
Highlands
Highlands, you're in Walport.
is in Walport.
So,
All right, well,
Cool. I'll make a motion to approve the IGA modifications as presented.
Second? Oh,
moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Hope not. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. So I'll sign that when we're done.
And then again, I promise this is the longest policy section.
Yeah, sorry, I jumped that one.
That's okay, no. I
So-
promise that's the longest one.
One question I've got on this unification, or, oh, well, let's just not say unification, let's just say it's increasing the district size. Could this be started by citizen citizen participation, like petitions, things like that?
So
Saying that they
citizens-
want to come into a district?
Legally, citizens, if they feel they would receive better protection from a specific entity, they do have the right to petition to be annexed into that entity.
Mm-hmm.
But
They don't
the
get any of their
entity that covers them has to release them,
Yeah.
or it has to go to the court to be released.
Because you
So-
technically lose those assets
Yeah.
under that entity. So it'd be like somebody coming in and be like, nope, we're taking your fire truck. And everyone's like, no, you're not. So,
Now, we talked about this before. We were under the impression that we would have to dissolve both districts and create a new district, and the voters would have to prove that. Is that not true?
That's not necessarily true. If we do a consolidation, that's true. If we are going to disband both agencies and then build a whole new agency, which at that point the state would come in and give a new permanent rate, and we would have to do a financial plan for the voters for voting on the levies, bonds, et cetera, then that would be true. If it's a merger and one entity is joining another, then that means the voters are voting to disband said entity and adopt the current rates at the entity that they're merging with. And so if Seal Rock had whatever happens and all of a sudden they don't have protection, whatever, they say, well, we need to be with Central Coast. We want to be part of Central Coast. Then the voters would have to vote to basically shut down Seal Rock as an entity and then become part of Central Coast and adopt Central Coast's current rates.
Right.
I'm
I'm just kind of pointing out the difficulty of this, and it's just not something we can, just shake hands and say, oh, let's be together.
yeah.
Yeah.
But there is,
Let me put it this way, if both boards were sitting in this room and all 10 people said, we need to make a new district, from the start of that point to the point that we put a new patch on our shoulder, it'd be about 2 to 3 years.
yeah.
yeah.
Right.
When we merged with Tidewater, we merged our tax rates. We took the average of the two. And then we also merged the boards. I think there were 2 people from Tidewater that wanted to stay on, and so 2 people from our board resigned, and the Tidewater people came on.
Anyway, I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, it's a big process, you have 3 options, you can merge, you can consolidate, or you can do a fire authority.
Right.
So,
This IGA deal that we started, what is it, a year ago now? Yeah, that was the interim thing to let everybody know that it could work together.
well, and it also gave us the ability as working as one entity to show what it would do.
Right, exactly.
And to
And that's
provide the protection that we needed for both sets of employees.
I'm just trying to get it on the record in the meeting here, so everybody understands
Yeah.
where
That's-
we're at.
And that's what we did with Tidewater too. We went for a year under an IGA while we crossed all the Ts and dotted the Is, so. Okay, so, Resolution 2108.
I'll have that for next meeting.
Oh, okay, because I'm looking all over, I can't find it.
Building property reserve continuation.
Ah,
Okay,
thank God. Thanks,
Um,
Brad.
we've already done the pining ceremony.
Yep.
Don't put that in.
Yeah, no, sorry. I will. I was very tired when I finished this.
So I have one addition for new business. This came up in the last few days.
Okay.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, it came up because of our, stress and.
Anxiety
correct me if
levels.
I'm wrong, anxiety and frustration with, the last 2 weeks of vehicles that we've been dealing with. Having engine 72 out, having engine 73, not just break once, but break multiple times over that period as each discharge has finally started to give up on that thing. It's apparent that we can be hopeful to make it to next May and float a bond, and hopefully the citizens will back us and understand that we need to hit the reset button, we need to get apparatus back in check, and we need to get our facilities back in check because of the reasons that they are. But we need to be able to get to that point. Now, I'm very aware, overly aware, and a few sleepless nights worth of understanding that we don't have $500,000 sitting in our bank account somewhere to go out and buy a new engine. I am also, as I try to understand and make decisions for what to recommend or what to suggest for the future of the district, I do not want to take on the burden of more debt, especially as we're about to pull out from this little bit of debt that we do have with the SCBA loan. And so what that means is we have to work with what we have. Currently, in our equipment fund, and Brett will correct me if I'm wrong, we have the anticipated $128,000 for equipment, yes? Okay. In the back of your books, you will see a Brindley Mountain flyer that I printed out and had Wendy put in there for a 2009 Rosenbauer Spartan chassis engine that is available from Eureka, California through Humboldt Bay Fire District. They are selling it. Their asking price right now is $125,000. I have been on the phone with them. I asked them why they're selling it. They are a Paul Pierce Fire District, and therefore their maintenance division is having to constantly go out anytime that they need to do anything with their non-Pierce brand engines and get different parts from what they're normally keeping on the shelves. So they're consolidating to all Pierce, and this is one of the many Pierce engines that they had. This is one of the last ones they've got left to sell. He told me it's in good condition. It's still in service now, but they've moved it to a reserve status to keep from putting any further miles or any more excessive wear and tear on it while trying to sell it. So I'm not asking you to approve purchasing this engine tonight. That is not what I'm coming to the table and asking. What I'm asking is for your consideration of, we have to get something in here that can be our first out, take the load of doing 1,200 calls a year right now, and get us to the point where, whether it's next year or maybe it's 3 years from now, that we finally get the support that we need to go out and get the funds to replace engines with new engines that are going to last 20 years, to consider allowing me to send Eric down to Eureka, which is approximately 285 miles from here, if our Google Maps is correct, and do a very thorough inspection on this vehicle and bring back a report for us to have a consideration at a workshop of whether or not we should invest in this vehicle to carry us forward for a few more years. I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you that I think this is the best thing in the world. I think the best thing in the world is to go out and get a new engine that we can depend on for 20 years.
Right.
However, I am going to be very realistic about what our financial status is and what we can do with it. It makes me nervous to spend that money on an engine that's a 2009. It's priced appropriately. I've gone online and done my homework. But it's one of those things where it's a 2009. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and try to say that it won't break down in 6 months.
So-
You just don't know.
For our current 72, what is it, how many hours and miles does it have on
the odometer was replaced at 44,000, and now so it's probably sitting about 47,000, and about 3,800 hours on the pump.
And this one has 6,000 hours and 97,000 miles.
Yeah, I asked him about the mileage. It was a Rosenbauer demo. It was driven all around the country before it was purchased, so that's why it has a higher mileage on it. The hours, they're a bigger, much bigger department, so they've been using it. Like I said, I'm not gonna sit here and try to tell you, that I think this is the best thing ever.
No, I think the price is right, and I think that a rig that's used more often, a lot of times is in better shape than ones that sit and get less mileage on.
Yeah, and they're a little bit more inland, so we're hoping that when Eric gets down there and does get to see it, if that's what we do, that he won't see quite the corrosion level that we're seeing on our vehicles. And keep in mind that for a long time, some of our vehicles were left outside for a long time.
Right.
And we've
Yeah.
done a lot of work to try to fix that, but it's displaced some of our vehicles here and there.
Yeah.
Well,
Especially with Tidewater down.
73 honestly it sat outside, even though it was inside, it sat outside, there was no weathering to that building. So, I was honestly kind of against it at first, and the biggest reason was because we were coming for a bond, and why, let's just fight through, let's just make this work, blah, 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 we got the bond, until this election, and every fire levy in the county failed, this election, every fire levy.
Well, not
So
only
what
that,
we
but
can
you
do.
had two rigs that were out of commission.
And then on top of that, I have 2 rigs, and I'm
Yeah.
looking at it, possibly losing from a maintenance standpoint, losing an IGA. Okay, now I've got 3 engines to cover our district, and if the IGA goes away, our first out is now 74. I mean, if we didn't have an IGA right now, they'd be running at 74 right now.
Right.
So that brings up another question, what does Steel Rock have for rigs?
They have 2 engines.
1.5.
They have the 62 that they're using now that you see us in right now. And then they have a front pump, kind of like 74 is, their 61 that's up there.
So what kind of shape are those in?
Well, 62, as soon as I get them back in 72, 62 goes to fleet because it's got brake problems. 61, I've never used it, so I don't know. I've heard horrible stories about it.
Yeah, no, I'm just asking.
Yeah,
It's about the same age as 74, and it's an open cap
yeah.
on that. So,
Just doing due diligence,
So-
just asking questions.
As far as the budget wise goes, I mean, we should be able to swing it for the 125 without getting a loan. Just because we're still hanging out in the general fund with roughly 300,000 in reserves, which is pretty fatty, which is pretty good. So in theory, we could move more of those funds if we wanted to into the equipment reserve fund as well. So from a budgetary standpoint, I think it's pretty doable with that reserve sitting out there.
for some of that money we used for our carryover, and some of it's our network and capital, we keep scraping away at that, it goes away.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
this is in the reserve fund, which means it doesn't impact our network and capital, it does not impact our carryover, but once it's spent, it's spent.
Right.
Yeah, so if we wanted to keep the reserves, it's a hell of a time to loan money, that's all I'm saying. And then we could throw it out
So
10
here-
years and,
Here's the problem though.
yeah,
If we get a loan, again, and we go out for the bond, and it doesn't pass, and we have to enter into a lease agreement, and we're paying a lease payment for $6,000 a month, or a little bit less than that possibly, and a loan payment, and trying to float on 5 years with the levy not being increased, when I'm sitting here saying it's tight, we're gonna get to a point where we're gonna start maybe cutting a firefighter because we can't keep up with our bills.
yeah, but at least we're still gonna have the money, we'll know that in a year, right? So we're still gonna have the money sitting in reserve, it doesn't go away, we just get a loan, so it buys us time, in a sense, is what
Oh, I
I'm
see
trying to
what
say.
you're saying. Okay.
We're buying
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
The reserve still stays there, right?
Yeah,
And
I
so
see.
then in a year, we know, and be like, well, shit, it didn't pass, we can sell this fire truck, we
Yeah.
just had a loan on it, we throw that money, it's still sitting in reserves, right? who cares, we had a loan, you know, we got a loan on it, it buys us a year to make a better decision instead of pulling it from.
I totally interpret that.
If we remember that, I see too many times where we have the loan out, we have the reserve, and we say, oh, we have the reserve, so let's just spend it.
Yeah.
And then when it
Yeah.
comes time, we don't have the money to pay the
Well,
loan.
I think we're keeping a little more scrutiny on
Yeah.
that sort of thing,
Yeah.
you know.
I think we should look at the rig first, see if it's even worth buying.
Yeah,
And keep
I-
in
I
mind, when I
think-
go down there, I'm gonna try to break it. I'm gonna be real honest.
And what about the fact that it's only got
I'm
a
sorry,
five?
Eureka, if you're watching.
What about the fact that it's only got a 500-gallon tank? Is that an issue?
You know, right now, more commonly, we're seeing 750s coming out at max with the newer engines.
Oh, really?
So 500, 750, you know, we're either gonna be setting up a water supply either way. And right now, I've been training them on first in tender becomes a nurse tender, automatically connects to that attack engine, and then ups that water supply by double, if not more, depending on which tender it is. So, yeah, would I like to find one with a bigger tank? Yep, but 500 is still plenty of operation time to wait for a tender to get there.
So from my perspective, even with the bond, if we say we get the bond and we're able to start the vehicle replacement program, we're gonna probably end up with a bunch of Rosenbauers anyway, because they're easy to fix. They're, you know, we don't have to go, I don't have to go and get Pierce certified, I don't have to go and get, and we don't have to order parts because they're proprietary parts. I can run up to the navigator or a valve or whatever. Everything's very simplistic in them and commercially available, so.
Yeah, that's the other reason why this one versus, there are some Pierces out there that we could go and get, but then we're back in that same realm and then. I'm thinking
Locked into
maybe we need to start looking
non-interchangeable
at-
parts and so on.
Yeah, getting
Yeah.
out of that, so.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about the idea of Pierce and having to buy Pierce parts.
So you figure the travel, and do you have the ability to take the time to make the trip and that sort of thing?
That, in my opinion, we don't have a choice. I need to go down and take a look at it and get hands on it. Honestly, sorry, Eureka, try to break it, because if it comes up here, I don't want it to break after we put it in the
Right.
first in,
Yeah.
out position.
Yeah.
I'd much rather break it down there and say, sorry.
Well, I certainly prefer that option to buying sight unseen.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just not good practice to just buy something and never ever put your hand on it,
Right.
never drive it. I want Eric to go down there, I want him to drive it on narrow roads, wide roads, interstate, you know, everything. And pump it, blow water, crawl underneath it, you know, everything, before we even consider putting a dime towards it.
Yeah.
The one thing that, just for example, that I'll be looking for, if I pull a discharge cap off, and I, have it hooked up to a hydrant, pull the discharge cap off, happened to me today. I tried to just random discharge on this truck, pulled the cap off, had the hydrant hooked, pulled the discharge, no hose, orange water come flying out of it.
Yeah.
If that
Well,
happens,
judging
we're
by
probably
the,
not-
judging by the number of engine hours on it, I don't think this is gonna be a
No.
problem for this
So,
one.
Eric, if you go down and give it a good look over and you say it's got this problem or this problem, can that affect the price then?
Mhm.
Mhm.
I'll make a big old long list, and if of problems that I find, and say, okay, we're willing to take this, but you need to fix this. You need to fix this leak, you need to fix this, rattle over here, and, the headlight creasing over here is flopping, whatever.
Or discount the price?
Yeah, or take it off the price, but I'd much rather them fix it and then bring back a good working product.
Yeah.
Well, that's where we're at next, is get that report.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure,
You need a motion to approve?
I like one,
sure.
Well,
Motion to do what?
I move
to
to,
approve me to spend the money to send him down.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm gonna have to give him a hotel room for at least one night, I guess.
It's only
I'd make them drive all
$600
the way down and.
as long as you
all the way
only
back,
eat at McDonald's.
It's only $600 a night, I'm only getting T-bones.
Yeah, there's a Motel 6 in Eureka.
Yeah. Anyway, I make the motion to authorize the chief to, send Eric down to check it out
I'll second that.
and to cover the expenses.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Figure out a schedule.
Anything else, chief?
Not for new business, no.
Okay. What do you got for your report? I saw.
So I already talked about McKinsey, so we
Yeah.
don't need to talk about that. The boathouse, short and sweet. To build an engineered boathouse is gonna cost a lot of money. I don't think the port nor the district has that kind of money. It could be something that could be evaluated and possibly looked at for if we do a bond. But I think that for the time being, we need to get that boat down there and we need to get it where it's deployable. We had a rescue the other day. It took almost 20 minutes to get it in the water. You know, luckily it was just a stranded boat with people stuck in the environment, so it's not exactly like a life or death thing. But we were running against the tide because when the tide goes out, we can only get back in and out of the port at certain levels with that boat. And, you know, those people that were on that boat, if we were not able to go grab them and get them off that boat and back to shore, they'd have been sitting in that boat for about 10 hours before the tide came back and let them move again. So, yeah, I also had a Coast Guard helo on standby to lift them out. Not exactly a great use of the Coast Guard's time, considering it was, you know, not a good idea to be out there when the tide was going out anyway. But these were new boaters and they didn't know better, so we'll give them ignorance.
I saw him trying to drag it out when I was coming across the bridge. There was still like, you know, that much water left on the sandbar.
Yeah.
They were pulling, driving. I was like, I wonder if they're gonna get out.
We evaluated the tide. We
Flat
figured we had 45 minutes to get out there, get them and get back into the port where we could get the boat back out of the water and not have our boat stuck out there. So we sent the boat. It took about 20 minutes to get it in the water. They were out there for about 15 minutes to get them situated. We actually had to use our anchor to keep their boat from leaving when the tide came back in because they didn't have an anchor.
Wait.
And so, but they did thankfully return our anchor to us after they got their boat back. And we got them back to the shore safe and sound. So no, you know, environmental issues there for them staying out. No food, no water, no, maybe even warmth. So, so that being said, we're looking at trying to put a lift system in the area that the port has designated for us with a security fence, the power, water availability there for operating that lift system and being able to take care of our boat, and buying a suitable cover for our boat that would take care of it, and keeping it basically at the port for spring, summer, and fall, and taking it out during winter because that's usually when we have the worst of weather. And no matter what cover you get, I don't know that it'll do that well with the weather here. So that means that 3 out of 4 we're not trailering it and taking this really long deployment time.
So the money that's currently in the budget for the boathouse,
20 grand.
is that sufficient to do what you plan on doing, or?
So we've been talking with Roxy about trying to do a match between the port and the district to make this happen. So it may be enough, we may need to add a little bit to it from the building fund to make this work. But either way, I think it's important. And honestly, most of the time that we go out on the bay is because somebody strands their boat. I mean, it happens a lot. However, earlier this night in my board comments, I talked about how we did 2 rescues of 2 people that were in the water for long duration. One went code 3 to the hospital, if I remember right, with some significant cold injury going on. And so to say that we're never going to do a rescue and our deployment time is not a big issue is a false statement.
Right.
So our deployment time is a big issue. Our ability to get out there, I do not want to spend 20 minutes trying to put that boat in the water when I have a child in the water trying to struggle to stay above the water.
Well, not to mention that it's not just the safety of the people that you're rescuing, but you've also got rescuers that are anxious to get out in the water too, and the longer the delay, the more the anxiety, the more mistakes could be made. I mean, you know, it just snowballs.
Yeah.
It can snowball.
I think it's a good idea to pursue this because we may not have a building, but you'll still be able to offer the service.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you know, we can look at a building down the road or something, but at least now you can get it going. And
Yeah.
plus, it'll free up a bay as well.
Yeah, it'll give us a little bit more
At
room
least
in the
3/4 of the
station
year.
Yeah.
for part of the year, but it wouldn't be something we could dedicate because the
No.
boat's gotta
Right.
come
I
back.
understand
And
that.
it's gotta be inside.
It's a good fix, though.
So we're gonna keep working with Roxy and go from there, and see what we can get put together. When it comes time to, hey, we need to do this, it'll be a plan, it won't be an idea. So, EF recovery is up and running, we're putting it on the tablet that'll be on the engine, and, I just talked to them the other night about, because they called and said, hey, we don't see any claims, and I said, well, unfortunately, all the motor vehicle accidents we've been counted on haven't been in our district. They've been everybody else's car accidents, and so they're like, well, you can look at billing for those too if they're not those districts' taxpayers, you know? And so I said, okay, we need to look at that. So I'm working with them on that, and whether or not that would mean we change our resolution or not, we'll go from there. Budget, obviously, budget's ready to go. We approved it through the committee tonight, so then it'll go for final approval next month. The military truck, I should have just deleted that off of there. It's been gone, and it's no longer ours. It was reallocated to a district down south. Hopefully they'll put it to good use. Surplus property, Eric talked earlier, we've recovered quite a bit of funds on surplus property. We've also donated a significant amount of equipment that was no longer meeting national standards to Woodburn's charity that sends that equipment to non-US countries where there isn't an OSHA or an NFPA, and
Yeah.
so they're putting that stuff to good use. Grants, still waiting on the OSFM grant, hopefully we'll hear next week. I've got so an agency south of us, I'll leave their name out of it, was successful with a tender grant last year. I reached out, I asked them for a copy of that grant so I could see what they did and then rewrite it with our info and our needs, and then hopefully put that in for a tender grant this coming January. If I get that, then that means that's one less vehicle that we'll have to pay full price for. So that hopefully we'll get that. Squad 21, so the ambulance, it's still, they're still moving forward in consideration. They have a workshop for their board in early June that they're gonna be making the decision of whether they want to do the swap. Hopefully that'll go through. I've already talked with FEMA and our Region 10 rep for the grant that we got for the ambulance, and he says, yep, it's all doable. He gave me the instructions, I created the documents, and so it's literally just waiting for Depot Bay to make their decision or not at this point. That's literally where we're at.
Have the board seen the ambulance? I mean,
Yeah, we took it up there last month and during their board meeting, just like when they brought the
Yeah.
rescue down here for us.
Cool.
So, yep.
I hope that goes
I
through.
kind of like those
Yeah.
meet and greets for the
Yeah, I do, yeah.
equipment, you know, that's kind of cool.
ISO, I've been working with our ISO rep for our insurance rating and for Seal Rock's insurance rating. He'll be here June 29th. I was able to work it out where he will come in. He's going to reevaluate our training. He's going to reevaluate our staffing. And he wants to see the Five Rivers and Tidewater station to see that we followed through on the commitments we said we would, or rather other people promised before. And then if so, he's going to redo our score based off those improvements. Last time when we were scored, we were 3 points from being an ISO rating 4 district. That's where we're at 5. I'm not going to sit here and guarantee we'll go to a 4 because that's the worst thing I could do, but I don't see any reason why with the training, the staffing, and the improvements we've done, we would recoup at least 3 points, if not more.
Good.
So we should hopefully go to a 4 district-wide for ISO, which means even further insurance discounts for every person in our district that lives within 5 miles of one of our fire stations.
Yeah.
Timmy, is that substantial when you go to a 4 for insurance?
Well, for every number you go down, it's about 10% on your homeowner's insurance. So,
Oh, yeah.
you know, our people would have seen a 20% drop in 2 years, so that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yep.
So, and we already talked about the training and, so utility 72, we had to replace the battery in there.